Hello readers, it's Mrs. Saul back with another story for you today. So our story today is by one of my most favorite authors. Now you might remember from back to school when I told you my favorite author is Mo Willems, and he is definitely one of my favorites, but this author is a really close second, and sometimes I think maybe first. They kind of flip back and forth. I love Kevin Henkes. Kevin Henkes has written many books, and many of his books, quite a few that we'll share in first grade this year, are about mice. Yes, his characters are mice. So the story that I'm going to read to you today is by Kevin Henkes. He is the author and the illustrator, and it is called A Weekend with Wendell. Here it is, A Weekend with Wendell. Now, there are two main characters in this book. Remember, we talked about characters are who a story is about, and the main characters are who the story is mostly about, okay? Now, the two characters' names are Sophie, that's her, and Wendell, that's him. And I want you to notice as I'm reading a few things. First, we've been working on thinking about a character's feelings and being able to infer or figure out how they're feeling using our schema, using clues in the text. And the biggest clues that help us figure out how a character is feeling is paying attention to how the character acts, paying attention to what the character says, and paying attention to what maybe the character is thinking. Sometimes the author says something like, he was so excited, or she was excited, thought Henry, or whoever. So sometimes the author says thought. That means the character's not saying it out loud. They're thinking it in their head, okay? So I want you to pay attention to how I can use my schema and my text evidence and paying attention to what the characters are doing and saying and thinking to help me figure out how they're feeling. I also want you to notice how sometimes characters' feelings change in a story, and see if the characters' feelings change at all in this story. So here we go. A Weekend with Wendell by Kevin Henkes. On Friday afternoon, Wendell's parents dropped him off at Sophie's house. There he is, getting dropped off at Sophie's house. Wendell's going to spend the weekend with us, said Sophie's mother, while his parents visit relatives out of town. Oh boy, said Wendell. Sophie didn't say anything. So I can see in the picture here, by the way that Wendell is standing and the way, do you see how he's kind of swinging his arms? He's got a smile. I can see how he's acting here. And because he said, oh boy, his words, those two things are clues for me that help me infer that Wendell is excited about staying at Sophie's house for the weekend. It seems that Wendell's parents are going away and he is staying with Sophie and her family. They're babysitting him. They're watching him while his parents are out of town. And I can tell he's excited. But how is Sophie feeling? Sophie, it said, didn't say anything. So we don't have any clues about what she said because she didn't say anything. But can we use the clues that we see about how she's acting? So look at this picture here. Here's Sophie. I can see she's hiding behind her mom. To me, if I had to take a guess and use my schema and I know she didn't say anything, and that actually means something. She didn't say anything. And she's kind of hiding behind her mom. I think Sophie might be feeling shy or maybe a little nervous about Wendell staying. This kind of tells me that maybe she doesn't know Wendell very well. And she's unsure. That would be a good word I could use to explain how she's feeling right now. after a snack, Sophie helped Wendell carry his sleeping bag and suitcase upstairs. Okay, so they had a snack. Oh. And Sophie's helping Wendell carry his suitcase and sleeping bag upstairs. I'm going to hold the book like this so you can see. Well, what are we going to do now? Asked Wendell. Do you have any toys? Sophie pointed to her toy chest. Is that all you've got? Said Wendell. I've got 1,000,000 times more than that. What else is there to do around here? We could play house, said Sophie. Only if I get to make the rules, said Wendell. Oh boy. So again, take a look at this picture. It said Sophie helped Wendell take his suitcase and sleeping bag upstairs. Well, it definitely looks like she's carrying things, but she doesn't look like she's helping. When you help, you're doing a job with someone. Wendell's not carrying anything. He's got 2 arms up in the air. Like, hooray, here we go. And poor Sophie is carrying all his stuff. And then when he got to her room, he said, what are we gonna do? Do you have any toys? And she showed him. But what he said wasn't very nice. He said, I have 1,000,000 more toys than that. What else is there to do? I don't know about you, but I don't have a very good feeling about Wendell right now. I'm not too sure about him. I think maybe I understand why Sophie was feeling a little bit nervous on this page and unsure about Wendell. I think I'm feeling the same way. I don't know. I'm not getting a good vibe from Wendell right now. Let's keep reading. So they played house, and Wendell made the rules. He was the father, the mother, and the 5 children. Sophie was the dog. Oh boy. Then they played hospital. Wendell was the doctor, the nurse, and the patient. Sophie was the desk clerk. Readers, remember, it's good to stop and think about our reading. And I want to think about everything I just read right here because a lot happened. So I know they only were playing house and they were playing doctor, but already I have some more unsure and worried feelings. And when I look closely at these pictures, I'm going to show them to you closely. When I look closely at Wendell and Sophie is kind of sitting here. Her arms are crossed. Friends, the way she's sitting, she still hasn't said anything, but the way she's sitting here and paying attention to what Wendell's doing, I can infer that Sophie does not look to be enjoying herself. I don't think she's having fun. And then when they were playing doctor, she's still sitting there. Oh, and now her face even looks a little angry. Boys and girls, if I had to use everything I knew from the book, I would think that Sophie is not happy with Wendell. I don't think she's enjoying spending time with him. And I think I understand why. Wendell said, they said, let's play house, and he's all the good parts. He's the mom, the dad, the kids. She had to be the dog. I guess maybe some people would like to pretend they're the dog, but it doesn't look like Sophie does. And then when they played doctor, he was the doctor and the nurse and the patient. And she had to sit at the desk and be like the desk person who checks you in when you go to the doctor. And some people might not mind doing that, but Sophie obviously didn't want that part to be her part. She doesn't look very happy. Oh boy. When they pretended they worked in a bakery, now before I even read, I bet you, just like me, can make a prediction. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to pretend to work in a bakery. Use what you know, all about what they did when they played house and when they played doctor, and let's make a prediction. They're going to play bakery. What do you think is going to happen? Tell someone near you. I'm going to think. Okay. I don't know about you, but I don't think it's going to work out fairly again. I think Wendell's going to want to be like the baker, and he's going to want to be the cake decorator, and he's going to want to be the one to sell the things, and maybe Sophie's, I don't know what she's going to do. Hold the door open? I don't know. But that's my prediction. I think he's going to try to be all the good parts again when they play bakery. Let's find out. When they pretended they worked in a bakery, Wendell was the baker and Sophie was a sweet roll. Oh my goodness, he made her be like a bun, a cinnamon bun, or a sweet roll. "Isn't this fun?" said Wendell. Sophie didn't say anything. So friends, I think Wendell, again, is feeling really happy about this sleepover so far. He's got to be all the good parts when they play house. He got to be all the good parts when they play doctor. He got to be all the good parts when they pretended to work in a bakery. And Sophie is just not saying anything. But, so I can tell Wendell is enjoying himself, for sure. But look at Sophie. She's actually sitting and she's turned her back. She's not even looking at Wendell anymore. Boys and girls, I can infer here, because she's turning her back, she's not saying anything, that Sophie is not having a good time. She is unhappy or upset about how Wendell is treating her. At dinner, Wendell said that he was allergic to anything green. So he didn't have to eat his vegetables. And then, when Sophie wasn't looking, he scooped the whipped cream off her dessert. Oh my goodness. "When is Wendell leaving?" whispered Sophie. "Soon," said her mother. "Soon," said her father. Oh boy. Now, let's try to infer again. Let's use our strategy of thinking about what the character are doing and what the characters are saying. So, Wendell didn't eat any vegetables. He said he's allergic to things that are green. And then he took the whipped cream off of Sophie's dessert. Okay? So, if you were Sophie and the person sleeping over at your house did that, they didn't have to eat any vegetables, they took your whipped cream, and now Sophie has said, "When is he leaving?" Those are all clues. The author is giving us clues to help us figure out how the characters are feeling. So how do you think Sophie's feeling? I think the same as I said before. I think she's not enjoying herself. She's unhappy. She's now asking, when is Wendell leaving? When is he going home? Friends, that's a huge clue that she is not enjoying herself. She is unhappy. She's not enjoying her time with Wendell at all. And look at her parents. Oh, you could also look at her face too. And look at her parents. Look at her dad. Ooh, that's a pretty worried face. After Sophie's parents tucked Sophie in her bed, zipped Wendell into his sleeping bag, kissed them both, and turned off the light, Wendell grabbed his flashlight and shone it right in Sophie's eyes. That's not nice. "See you tomorrow," he said, smiling. Oh boy, he sounds kind of scary. Look at her. Poor Sophie. He's shining his flashlight right in her face. Sophie shut her eyes. "I can't wait for Wendell to go home," she said to herself. Again, more clues that Sophie's not enjoying herself. She just said, "I can't wait for Wendell to go home." On Saturday morning, when Sophie woke up, there was a lumpy blue monster jumping up and down on her bed. It was Wendell. She felt something pinch her leg at breakfast. It was Wendell. Oh my goodness. Wendell, what is Wendell doing? He's not a very good friend or a very good person to have sleep at your house. First, he scared her by pretending to be a monster and jumping on her bed. And now He's crawling under the table and pinching her leg at breakfast. Now, she has been unhappy so far, but if you look at that face now, friends, you can see she's getting angry. I would too. She's got her hands on her hips. See how she's standing? Like this. She's not happy. She heard scary noises coming from the broom closet. Grrr. Ooh. It was Wendell. Did you guess that? I did too. Wendell used Sophie's crayons and left them on the porch. So they melted. Oh, he left them out on the porch with the sun shining and the crayons melted. Ugh, that would be it for me. I would have kicked him out of my house now. You melted my crayons? We have a problem, mister. Wow. At lunch, Wendell finger painted with his peanut butter and jelly. "Isn't this fun?" said Wendell. Sophie didn't say anything. Friends, did you notice that this part repeated where Wendell says, "Isn't this fun?" And then the text says, Sophie didn't say anything? Kevin Henkes does that a lot in his books. So that is schema you're growing about the author, Kevin Henkes. He does that a lot. He repeats. He also writes a lot of books about mice. So you have 2 new things in your schema about Kevin Henkes. But he repeated, "Isn't this fun?" He's using his peanut butter and jelly to paint on the tablecloth. Terrible, terrible manners. That's not how you act when you go to someone's house, right? "When is Wendell leaving?" Sophie whispered. "Soon," said her mother. "Soon," said her father. And again, look at their faces. None of them are enjoying Wendell at their house. Yep. And Wendell is not treating Sophie nicely at all. At bedtime, when Sophie put her head on her pillow, she heard something crunch. It was a note from Wendell. It said, "See you tomorrow." Sophie shut her eyes. "I can't wait for Wendell to go home," she said to herself. Now that doesn't sound so bad that his note said "see you tomorrow," but when I look more closely at this note, I think my feelings about that might change. So remember, if we skip looking at pictures, we might miss something. I would have missed something if I didn't look at the pictures, because "see you tomorrow," well, that's not bad. That just means I'm going to see you tomorrow. But take a look at the picture he wrote with his note. "See you tomorrow." Oh my goodness. Here's Sophie, and here's Wendell. Look, he even wrote bangs, and he's chasing her. He wrote Wendell, Sophie, by W. That's by Wendell. He put a W for his name. Oh, and he's laughing. Ha ha ha, he he he. You know what this note tells me, friends? This note tells me that Wendell knows exactly what he's doing and how he's treating Sophie. That he knows he's not being nice to her, because he made her with a scared face running away. So if you were thinking that maybe Wendell just maybe doesn't know how to be nice or how to play nicely, I think that would be incorrect. I think Wendell knows exactly what he's doing, and he's choosing not to be nice to Sophie. Boy, this story is making me a little sad for Sophie. I sure hope something changes soon. It's a big problem happening here. Before Wendell's parents picked him up on Sunday morning, he tried to make a long-distance phone call. Now, friends, things don't work like this as much as when I was a kid. But if you use someone's phone to call far away, like another country, the phone company would charge you a lot of money on your phone bill. And that's what Wendell's doing. He's calling far away. That's not nice. He wrote his name on the bathroom mirror with toothpaste. Oh, man, if Wendell would never be invited to my house again. And he gave Sophie a new hairdo with shaving cream. Look, he put shaving cream on her head. Want to go outside and help me wash this off? Asked Sophie. We could play firefighter. Oh boy, said Wendell. This is interesting. I wasn't expecting this. Sophie is actually asking Wendell to play with her. I'm going to look closely at this picture here. Okay? She just asked him, you want to go outside and help me wash this off? She's got shaving cream on her head. But take a look at Wendell. He's super excited. Take a look at Sophie. She looks really angry. You see that? Friends, I think she's got a plan. Because I don't think she's saying, hey, let's go play firefighter because I'm having fun playing with you. I think she has had enough. So they played firefighter, and Sophie made the rules. She was the fire chief. Wendell was the burning building. Isn't this fun? Said Sophie. Wendell didn't say anything. Do you see how Kevin Henke switched that around? It repeated, but this time he tricked us. This time Sophie said, isn't this fun? And Wendell didn't say anything. And look closely, friends, at these pictures here. There we go. So here they are. They're going outside to play. Sophie gets the fire hose and she says, I'm the firefighter. He's got a ball. And what does she do? She said, I'm the firefighter or the fire chief and you're the burning building. And she sprayed him with a hose. Now, it's not the nicest thing, but I have to say, I think Wendell kind of deserved this. If you don't treat people nicely, at some point, they're not going to treat you nicely, right? That's why we have to always remember we should treat people the way we want to be treated. Treat others nicely, and hopefully they'll treat you nicely, right? Do I get to be the fire chief? Asked Wendell. Maybe, said Sophie. She's still pouring water on him. Now, friends, did you notice the characters' feelings have changed here on this page? Through the whole story, Wendell was having a great time. Sophie, not so much. She was not enjoying her time with Wendell. She was very unhappy. She was angry. She was sad. And now, take a look at her face. Big ol' smile. Big ol' smile. And look at Wendell. Can you make a face like Wendell? He's sad. Their feelings have changed. The tables have turned. Sophie has now become the one who's enjoying herself, and Wendell is not. Soon Wendell and Sophie didn't care who was the fire chief or who was the burning building. So again, Kevin Henke's, just like he did on the other page, he's used a few pictures to show what's happening, okay? Instead of putting them on all different pages, he put a few different pictures. So let's look at each one. So on this one, Sophie, kind of stopped spraying him with the hose. He's looking at her and she's kind of grinning. And then in the next one, oh, look, she's giving him the hose. He's wiping his eyes. He looks sad. And now here, they're playing together. They both have the hose. They're sharing the job. This is the first time in the whole book I have seen both of them smiling at the same time. This is a clue that I can infer here that they're finally both enjoying themselves. Time to go, said Sophie's mother. Time to go, said Sophie's father. Already? Said Wendell. Already? Said Sophie. Oh, that was a surprise. So look at this. It's time to go. Mom and Dad sure are excited about that. I would be too. And now Sophie and Wendell are saying, already? Friends, I think they finally realized how to have fun together, and now it's time for him to go. When is Wendell coming back? Asked Sophie. Never, said Mother. Never, said Father. Friends, can you infer here? I think you can. Can you infer, can you make a guess, use all the clues, everything you know that happened in this story? Why are Sophie's parents saying that Wendell is never coming back again? Do you know? I think it's because he was not a very good house guest at all. That afternoon, when Wendell unpacked his suitcase, he heard something crunch. It was a note from Sophie. It said, "I hope I see you soon." Oh. So Sophie's feelings sure did change about Wendell. She realized that he could be fun. She kind of taught him a lesson about how to treat people, and he seemed to have learned his lesson. So hopefully there will be another chance for Wendell. It would be sad if he, ruined his chance of ever staying at Sophie's house again or visiting because he didn't act very nicely. Hopefully he'll get another chance, and this time he'll be nice and treat her nicely and her family and have good manners, right? So friends, I hope you enjoyed our story, and I hope you got some good practice at inferring how characters are feeling, using our schema, using our text evidence, and especially paying attention to how the character is acting, what they're saying, and what they're thinking. That helps us figure out how they are feeling. And finally, I wanted to give a shout out today to Retta. Hi, Retta. I hope you enjoyed our story. Can't wait to see you soon. Bye, friends. See you later. Happy reading.